If you ain't trying to change the franchise or the culture, don't get me. It should be no question why an NFL franchise should pick me.
In almost 40 years, I've never seen anything like this.
We all didn't expect this, of course, but tomorrow's the day. We're going to be happy regardless.
Let me go deep with you here. Are you just another quarterback, or are you something bigger? A player who was built for the doubt, the spotlight, and the storm? You know, that's a great question, and it's one that Shedeur Sanders is going to spend the next chapter of his life answering. If you strip away the headlines, the last name, and the social media clips, you're left with something raw and powerful. A quarterback who has always had to prove he belongs. Not just once and not just early on. Over and over again. But now the stakes are different. Shedeur Sanders just fell all the way to the 5th round of the NFL draft. The Cleveland Browns, a franchise famous for heartbreak and dysfunction, were the team that finally called his name. The question, however, is no longer just about potential. It's about survival, and it's about legacy. Will Shedeur Sanders be any good? Well, let's go back to the beginning and find out. Shedeur Sanders was born on February 7, 2002 into football royalty. His father, prime-time Deion Sanders, was arguably the greatest athlete to ever walk the earth. A Hall of Fame cornerback, a World Series baseball player, a larger-than-life figure known as Primetime. For some kids, that would have been an unbearable shadow to live under, but Shedeur wasn't trying to be the next Deion. He was trying to be the first Shedeur. From a young age, it was clear he had something different. Not the flashy speed of his dad, and not the dazzling interceptions or jaw-dropping jukes. Instead, Shedeur played with a calmness, a surgeon's precision, a thinker's patience. Quarterback wasn't just a position for Shedeur. It was a way to carve out his own identity. At Trinity Christian School in Cedar Hill, Texas, Shedeur quickly became a star in his own right. He wasn't just good, he was clinical. Over 12,000 passing yards across his high school career, 166 touchdowns, a state championship, and a 4-star ranking from major recruiting outlets. College offers started pouring in. Alabama, LSU, Florida State, every major program wanted the kid with the famous last name. But Shedeur made a decision that told you everything you needed to know about him. He chose Jackson State. Why? Well, because he wanted to help his father build something from the ground up. Because he wanted to lift other players while he also climbed. And because he wasn't scared of the road less traveled. At Jackson State, Shedeur Sanders didn't just live up to expectations. He obliterated them. In his freshman season, he threw for 3,231 yards, 30 touchdowns, and just 8 interceptions. He became the first player from an HBCU to ever win the Jerry Rice Award, given to the top FCS freshman in the nation. He wasn't playing small school football. He was dominating it. He had command at the line of scrimmage. He was accurate, and he stayed cool under pressure. But even with the awards and highlights, the whispers never stopped. Yeah, but could he do it against better competition? Sure, he looks good at Jackson State, but what about real defenses? Maybe he's just a product of the system. Shedeur heard it all, and he never said much in response. He just kept working. He kept getting better. When Deion Sanders took the head coaching job at the University of Colorado, Shedeur followed, ready to prove he could thrive against Power 5 competition. The transition wasn't supposed to be easy. Colorado was coming off a 1-11 season, the roster was gutted, and the expectations were rock bottom. But none of that mattered. In his very first game for the Buffaloes against TCU, the defending national champion runners-up, Shedeur lit up the scoreboard. 510 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, and an upset victory. It was one of the greatest debuts in college football history, and it wasn't a fluke. Throughout the 2023 season, Shedeur consistently put up big numbers behind one of the worst offensive lines in America. He was sacked more times than any other Power 5 quarterback. He was hit, harassed, and pressured on almost every drop back, but he didn't flinch. 3,230 passing yards, 27 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions, over 70% completion rate. Those are elite numbers by any standard, yet somehow the skepticism didn't go away. When the 2024 NFL draft cycle began, opinions on Shedeur Sanders were all over the place. Some scouts praised his mechanics, his accuracy, his pocket presence. Others were worried about his mobility, his ability to create off script, and his arm strength ceiling. And there was the elephant in the room. Was he being unfairly evaluated because he was Deion's son, and was he penalized for daring to do things differently? No one had a clear answer. What we do know is this. As the draft dragged on, team after team passed on him. First round, gone. Second round, gone. Third round, gone. Fourth round, gone. Finally, in the 5th round, the Cleveland Browns selected Shedeur Sanders. Now, let's be honest here. Getting drafted is a blessing, but falling to the 5th round hurts. It's a slap in the face for a guy who carried a broken team on his back. And it's a reality check for a player who was once the biggest story in college football. And then there's the Cleveland Browns, a famous franchise not for excellence but for dysfunction, for wasted talent, for heartbreak, for quarterbacks chewed up and spit out. From Tim Couch to Johnny Manziel to Baker Mayfield, the graveyard of failed Browns quarterbacks is long and painful. Now it's Shedeur Sanders' turn to try and break the cycle. So the question remains, will Shedeur Sanders be any good? Well, let's look at the tape. His strengths are as follows. He has a lightning fast release. He has a high football IQ, which allows him to process defenses quickly. He has incredible ball placement, especially on deep outs and seams. He has unshakable poise, which means he's never rattled, even under relentless pressure, and his leadership is something that teammates rally around him for. His weaknesses, though, are his average escapability. He's not Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen in terms of creating outside the pocket. His arm strength is good, but it's not elite. He has to win with timing and anticipation. And he needs to adjust to the NFL speed, especially reading safeties and linebackers in disguised coverages. But here's the thing. None of Shedeur's weaknesses are unfixable. In fact, his biggest quote-unquote flaws are coachable. His strengths are the things you can't teach, and they're already there. The chip on his shoulder is already there. The work ethic is already there. The pressure? Well, he's been living in it his whole life. Landing in Cleveland isn't ideal, but it might be exactly what Shedeur Sanders needs. There's low expectations, which means he'll get time to develop. He won't get thrown into the fire immediately. And when his moment comes, he'll be ready. Because Shedeur has never been about flashing brilliance for a moment. He's about consistency, about leadership, about proving people wrong every single time. So let's go back to that original question. Are you just another quarterback, or are you something bigger? For Shedeur Sanders, the answer is simple. He's not trying to be the next Patrick Mahomes or the next Joe Burrow or even the next primetime. He's trying to be the first Shedeur Sanders. And don't be surprised if a few years from now we're looking back and realizing that the NFL slept on a player who had everything you could want if you just look past the noise. Shedeur Sanders has been doubted at every level. He's been overlooked and underestimated. And every time, he's answered the only way he knows how, with results. Now, it's the NFL's turn to learn the hard way. Because Shedeur Sanders isn't just good. He's built for the storm. And he's just getting started. What do you think? Will Shedeur Sanders silence the doubters and become a future star, or will Cleveland claim another quarterback too soon? Let us know in the comments section below.